Yes. So, Erev Tov, good evening, everybody. It's so great to see you all. It's a special evening because it's the evening that comes before Rosh Hashanah. So it's very meaningful that all of you have left whatever you're doing in order to be here tonight. And we can only promise you that tomorrow night and Tuesday night we won't have anything for Slichot, so you don't have to choose. You can follow the services really well. And what we're going to do now is what we always do, which is I'm going to take you all the way as I share my screen to this piyut that we have been studying together, Adon HaSelichot. The letter that we are studying tonight is the letter Tzadi. It's an amazing letter, of course, because includes in this piyut, in this poem, the words tzofeh. You may remember that word because of the Hatikva of the national anthem of Israel, when it says Ain Tzofia, the eye sees. In this case, Tzofeh Atidot. It's an extraordinary thing. It means that God can see the future, but not only one future, but future in the plural. Atidot. Atid. Remember, for those of you that were studying the letter Ayin together, that we included that. And Tzofeh, that can visualize, that it can see it. So remember the pizmon, the refrain. חטאנו לפניך רחם עלינו חטאנו לפניך רחם עלינו. So we're gonna go just the last three lines. All right. פועל ישועות צופה עתידות קורא הדורות רוכב ערבות שומע תפילות תמים דעות חטאנו לפניך רחם עלינו. It's at this point that I talk about the presenter and introduce who he or she is. But I'm not going to do that this time because I am the presenter, so you know who I am. And if you don't know, go to Wikipedia. No, I'm not in Wikipedia, so you can't find me there. Just call me. I'll tell you who I am. So in any case, this is the letter we're going to be studying. I hope you can see it. If you don't, please let me know. I'm going to make sure that I zoom it so it's a little bigger. There you go. So the letter Tzadi, and you see the letter Tzadi is like a nun, you can see, with a yod on writing on top of it, if you want, signifying the essence of the Creator, because remember the letter yod is actually the letter of God, who animates all matters, guides and dwells within the one who is humble as symbolized by the letter nun. I've been thinking about so many words that are related to it. The first one that comes to mind is this one, Tzelem. You may remember that we are created in the book of Bereshit, the first book of the Torah, B'Tzelem Elohim, in God's image, Then maybe that's why in modern Hebrew, Letzalem is to create photographs, right? To photograph, and this is idea of about the image, of what kind of image do we have. Surprisingly, or perhaps not so much, the beginning of that word Tzelem is the word Tzel. Tzel, that means shade or sometimes shadow, as in the words of Tehillim of Psalm 23, the word Tzalmavet. Tzalmavet, if you remember, Gam ki elech begei tzal mavet. Even if I would be going into the valley of the shadow of death. We say, Lo irara, I'm not going to fear. Ki ata imadi, because God, you are with me. There is nothing more profound and more intimate than that, I think. But the word tzal mavet, right, has this word tzel in there. And the word tzel appears in a number of places. I wanted to bring to you this paragraph from the book of Yonah. If you remember the prophet Yonah, that we read in the afternoon of Yom Kippur. We read the whole entire book because the rabbis found that this book is the apotheosis of teshuvah, of return. Remember what happens. There is a city or a group of people called Nineveh, and they have made lots and lots of mistakes, and they're gonna be. And God says to Yonah, to the prophet, says, "Go and tell them that they will be punished." And what do? They make teshuvah, they return. And when they return, what do? They do something really interesting. God changes absolutely every final judgment and says, no, it's okay. And is Yonah, who is really upset. He says, what's happening? I knew you were going to do this. I knew you would not. You were going to forgive them. God, you're a weak God. I knew I couldn't count on you. And then comes this incredible moment, if you can imagine it, right? And it's not only for Yonah, for this prophet, but for many people. So all of a sudden, Yonah is where? He has left the city and found a place east of the city. He made a booth, right? We call it a sukkah. Remember that sukkah that we're going to be sitting, hopefully, after Yom Kippur, 5 days after that. And Vayeshev Tachtea, and he sat under it. Batzel. This is the word that I wanted for you. He writes in the shade until he should see what happened to the city. And then God provided a ricinus plant which grew up over Yonah to provide, you guessed, shade for his head and save him from discomfort. Yonah was very happy about the plant. And then you remember, I will tell you a little bit, but I hope that you stay all the way to the end of Yom Kippur and read it together. And perhaps even better if you read it with me. When we find out that plant dies, dries up and dies. And Yonah is really upset, and he says, what happened to this plant? And God says, oh, you're upset for the plant that dried out. But you're not upset for people that may be dying. Anyway, another thing that was intriguing was that the word Tzelem, remember the word of the image, right? The image of God, but Tzelem Elohim has in the gematria, when you actually count the numbers of the letters, right? It counts to be 160. You can count it. You should not trust me. Go and count it. But I think I'm right. And eventually I found out that very word Tzelem is the same numerical value of the word etz. The word etz, yes, a tree. And I looked into the Psalms. The first of the Psalm already says, Ve'aya ke'etz shatul al palgei mayim, that a person is like a tree planted beside streams waters, asher pirio iten ve'ito, which yields its fruit in due season, whose foliage never fades, and whatever it produces thrives. This idea of a tree, of course, for those of us that watch the news or read the newspapers, right, we know what's happening with trees. California, I have my brother Roy, who knows very well what it means to have incredible dryness and heat that kills trees. And there is a poet, an Israeli poet called Natan Zach. And Natan Zach wrote this amazing poem that we're going to look in the middle. And it was put into music by Shalom Chanoch. And this is Ki Adam Etz Asadeh. It has the commonalities between human beings and trees. What is it? How are we like a tree of the field? Like a tree, we also are cut off. Like us, the tree burns in fire. Like the tree, we stretch upwards. Like the tree, we thirst for water. Like us, the tree remains thirsty. So I thought that I would actually stop the sharing and go immediately one more time and see if I can find it really quickly. Sometimes this play plays a little tricks to me. I have Janet in here. I wish she would be doing this, but anyway, I think I got it. This is Ki Adam Etz Asadeh. Let's listen to a little bit of that. I think you would find it very poignant. Here it is, very nice. Let me just bring this you down so I can come in here and see. There we go.
כי האדם עץ השדה כמו האדם גם העץ צומח כמו העץ האדם נגדע ואני לא יודע איפה הייתי ואיפה אהיה כמו עץ השדה כי האדם עץ השדה כמו העץ הוא שואף למעלה כמו האדם הוא נשרף באש ואני לא יודע איפה הייתי ואיפה אהיה כמו עץ השדה.
I think it gives you a little taste. I hope it gives you a little taste. I hope you keep going. I know Nan knows the whole song. She's singing it with Shalom Chanoch. Of course, she must. She must sing with him. And yeah, and an unbelievable song. Of course, the word etz comes to us and it brings immediately the idea of etz chaim hi lamachazikim ba. But I'm gonna leave that one for last. So you stay with me. The idea, the letter Tzadi actually has so many connotations. One of them, of course, is the idea of tzedek. Of course, you know, in the book of Devarim, the last book of the Torah, tzedek tirdof is the first thing that comes to mind, the idea of justice that we should pursue. And then comes this idea of tzedaka from it, right? Tzedaka, that some translate as charity. I don't love that translation. Those of you may remember the word charity comes from the Latin noun caritas, which is derived from the word carus, that means dear, right? It's originally meant as love of our fellow human beings. You say, so what's wrong with that? Well, there's nothing wrong, except the idea that if you don't love and somebody's on the street and is dying, and you just say, oh, you know, I don't feel like it, the guy goes. Instead, with tzedakah, we have to do it. Why? Because it's justice, because it's what it is, because it's where we are commanded, from the word mitzvah that also has the word tzadi in it. And it's really important to remember that from there, from the word tzedek and from the word tzedaka, that person that pursues tzedek, that pursues tzedaka, is called a tzaddik, a righteous person. The Psalms come to tell us, tzaddik katamar ifrach. You remember that because many of you remember Psalm 92. We recited on Erev Shabbat, of course, in the evening of the Sabbath, but we also in the Sabbath as well, in the Shabbat, right? And it's the end of it, and it says, Tzaddik katamar ifrach, the righteous like the palm tree shall flourish, ke'erez balbanon izge, like a cedar in Lebanon will grow. Shetulim v'beit Adonai, planted in the house of Adonai, v'chatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu, in the courts of Adonai they shall flourish. They shall still bring forth fruit, even in old age. They shall be fresh and full of sap, to declare that Adonai is just. Tzuri, also with the letter Tzadi, velo avla tavo. And I wanted, of course, many of you, I'm going to see if I can show you that so you can see it, the whole thing. I hope you do. Here it is, and there are many versions, musical versions for this ending of Psalm 92. Of course, many of you know Louis Lewandowski, the iconic composer that we are celebrating the 200th anniversary of his birthday, right? So I'm not going to show you that, but I'm going to play for you, hopefully. You will be able to hear this. A very special version composed by Norma Brooks, who I hope gets better soon. And so here it is, her version. It's almost Latin American in phrase. Please let me know if you can't hear this well. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this and make sure that, yes, the sharing of the sound and all that stuff, yes. Let's see.
Tzadik, katama yifrach, tzadik, katama, tzadik, katama yifrach, ke'eres balvanon yizge, ke'eres balvanon yizge, tzadik, katama yifrach, tzadik, katama, tzadik, katama yifrach, ke'eres balvanon yizge, ke'eres balvanon yizge. Shetulim b'beit Adonai, b'chatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu, b'chatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu, b'chatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu.
Right, so we can continue hearing, but I would love to show you some other things. For instance, I was investigating this idea of the fact that the tzaddik is compared to the cedar of Lebanon. So I went to look for that and found out that indeed the cedar of Lebanon is considered in the Bible as the king of trees. It is a cedar that is it can grow up to 120 feet tall. Imagine a 10 to 12 story building, and branches are wide spreading and go straight out horizontally 30 to 50 feet from the trunk. Anyway, so I thought that would be really an interesting thing for us to compare ourselves. The idea that a righteous person can ascend to heaven, almost, the idea that we will be all together. The element of the letter Tzadi is also a letter that reminds us of Tzur, as we wrote Tzuri velo avla tavo, right? My rock. And Tzur is also Tzur Mishelo. If you remember, in the book of Devarim, we have this idea of Ve'achalta ve'savata uberachta, you shall eat, be satisfied, and you shall bless. And this is why the reasons why this is a bracha, one of the very, very few brachot where you actually act and then you say the blessing. Normally, if you remember, if you light candles or you say hamotzi, you say the blessing and then you act. In here, because the Torah tells us to bless afterwards, then therefore we don't. I was tempted to just show you just a little bit. I'm looking at the time and hoping that we can do this relatively fast. I have this, let me see, where is all that? I'm going to share the screen and I'm going to show you this, a little bit of this video that I did with my friend John, who put some amazing photographs. Let's see if you can all see it. Here it goes. It's gonna be a little bit of that.
צור משלו אכלנו, ברכו אמוני, שבענו והותרנו כי דבר אדוני. צור משלו אכלנו, ברכו אמוני, שבענו והותרנו כי דבר אדוני. חזן את עולמו, רואינו אבינו, אכלנו את לחמו ויינו שתינו. על כן נודה לשמו ונעללו בפינו, אמרנו וענינו אין קדוש כאדוני. צור משלו אכלנו, ברכו אמוני, שבענו והותרנו כי דבר אדוני. צור משלו אכלנו, ברכו אמוני, שבענו והותרנו כי דבר אדוני. בשיר בקול תודה נברך לאלוהינו על ארץ חמדתו שהנחיל לאבותינו. מזון בצדה השביע לנפשנו, חסדו גבר עלינו באמת אדוני. צור משלו אכלנו, ברכו אמוני, שבענו והותרנו כי דבר אדוני. צור משלו אכלנו, ברכו אמוני, שבענו והותרנו כי על עמך צורנו, על ציון משכן כבודך, זבול בתפארתנו. בן דוד עבדך יבוא ויגלנו, רוח אפנו משיח אדוני. סור משלו אכלנו, ברכו אמוני, שבענו והותרנו כי דבר אדוני. סור משלו אכלנו, ברכו אמוני, שבענו והותרנו כי דבר אדוני. יבנה המקדש עיר ציון תמלא, ושם נשיר שיר חדש וביר עננה נעלה. הרחמן הנקדש יתברך ויתעלה, על כוס יין מלא כברכת אדוני. צור משלו אכלנו, ברכו אמוני, שבע והותרנו כי דבר אדוני. צור משלו אכלנו, ברכו אמוני, שבע והותרנו כי דבר אדוני. צור משלו אכלנו, ברכו אמוני, שבע והותרנו כי דבר
So this is a little taste of what we all should be doing in terms of remembering that this idea of the blessing after the meals is a revolutionary idea. The idea of dreaming for the renaissance of the world. The idea of dreaming that at the same time that we are eating, that there are others that do not. And maybe we don't see them. And that's why at the end of that Birkat Hamazon, it says, that's blessing after the meals, it says that Nar hayiti gam zakanti, I was young and I grew older, velo ra'iti tzaddik, and I didn't see a righteous person, ne'ezav, abandoned, bezaro and his progeny, mevakesh lachem, asking for bread. And it's very interesting because there are a number of people that refuse to say it. They say, I don't want to say this because it's not true. They are righteous people that are not. They are hungry. I would like to bring a different explanation. The explanation that it's not that they are not hungry, it's that we don't see them. That is the difference. We do not see them. And once we do not see them, they don't exist. Remember, like the homeless people on the streets, that we turn the other way. And if we turn the other way, they don't exist. In any way, I'm getting really late at this, so I'm going to just end with something. I promised that I wanted to come back to this idea of Etz, the tree, Chaim I, a tree of life. I'm going to share for you the text of this ending of the Torah service, and what I would like to do is to sing for you in a very poor fashion. I wanted to imagine when I sing this that you can imagine an amazing choir, and can imagine a great organ, and listen to the music of Louis Lewandowski as he probably would have liked it to be. In other words, not of what I'm doing, but something way, way, way much better. And perhaps it will be one day when people are going to have choirs at services re-energizing ourselves and see if let me see where it is, where I find it. There you are, and I'm gonna try to make this bigger so you can see it better. View, there you go, and zoom it to 200. Let's see. So much better. Yeah, if it would be the right one, of course. Where is it? Etz Chaim Hi. There you are. There you are. That's it. I promise. This is the idea and my wish for all of you. Shana Tova u'mutzlachat. May you have a year full of blessings, only blessings, and of course lots of good health. And here is what Lewandowski wrote for this text.
ובנוחו יאמר שובה אדוני רבבות אלפי ישראל קומה אדוני למנוחתך הדברון עוזך כהניך ילבשו צדק וחסידיך ירננו בעבור דוד עבדך אל תשב פני משיחך כי לקח טוב נתתי לכם תורתי אל תעזבו עץ חיים היא למחזיקים בה בתומכיה מאושר דרכי נועם בכל נתיבותיה שלום אדוני אליך
So my wishes to you is that we will have the possibility of Ashivenu Adonai Elecha, that we will actually return, as we are asking in this season of Selihot, of repentance, to return, and that God will meet us halfway. Ashivenu Adonai Elecha, make us come to us, and we'll come to you. Venashuva, and we will return, and we will make the Shuvah. as we said many times at Shirat HaNefesh, Teshuvah is the answer, because the word Teshuvah in modern Hebrew means answer. So may we all have the opportunity to be together with those that we love, and we may be able to cleanse our souls, our hearts, brings us together to this Shana Tova, this new year, 5782, that is coming right to our door. Thank you so much, all of you. As I always say, Laila Tov, L'chaim, like Rachel is saying, Rabbi Rachel Gardner, our dear friend. L'chaim tovim ul shalom. Exactly, for life, for good life, and for peace, for wholeness. Shana Tova, have a great year. And until then, Laila Tov, we will meet again. Of course, you guess it, after the holidays. And for that time, that is gonna be on Thursday evening, September. We're going to continue with Letter Kuf, none other than our beautiful friend Rabbi Rachel Gardner, who's right here with us. And until then, Laila Tov, everybody be well, and thank you so much for continuing to support the Selihot. Good night.
Laila Tov.
Laila Tov.